to stop the Title 42 rollback, calling it a self-inflicted calamity that includes, of course, the state of Arizona. Let's bring in Cochise County Sheriff Mark Dannels and the state's Attorney General Mark Brnovich. Thank you both for joining us from the border in Arizona. Mark, I'm going to start with you first. U.S. Customs and Border Protection predicts that agents are going to see an influx of 18,000 illegal immigrants a day after this is lifted, Title 42. A growing number of Democrats, as I just mentioned, Kyrsten Sinema being one of them, highlighting the hypocrisy of extending this, mask mandate while lifting Title 42, okay? So it's not okay for an American to board a plane without a mask, but if you're an illegal with COVID, come on into the country, mask optional. What say you?
Well, I think this is why so many folks are not only frustrated because of the hypocrisy of the Biden administration, where they're imposing all these things on hardworking American taxpayers, and yet there seems to be a double standard for people that are breaking the law coming into the country illegally. And let us not forget, I'm very proud to lead that 21-state coalition suing over Title 42, but that's just one little piece of the puzzle. What the Biden administration has done is they have decriminalized and incentivized people coming here illegally, and that's why we are seeing these record amounts. And literally, it's going to be like the entire population of Baltimore, Maryland coming over in 1 month, and the record amount of drugs and people coming in here is just overwhelming the system, and we're all paying the price for the failed policies of the Democrats and the Biden administration.
Sheriff, there's an op-ed in the Washington Examiner. It talks about how Governor Greg Abbott just, is doing the job that Biden won't do. It would be nice if we had a president that was this committing with Mexico, it reads, to end the migrant crisis at our southern border, but we don't. So Abbott is playing the hand he was dealt. It's a risky play, but he is trying to make the best of it. Everyone who cares about the security of our southern border should be hoping he pulls it off. What would you say about the message that every single state should consider itself a border state? Because once these illegals come into the country, I don't care from what border, they're going to end up in your state. That is a bottom line.
Julie, let me say this. The frustration by sheriffs, by mayors, by attorney generals, by governors, because of the intellectual avoidance by this president, Secretary Mayorkas, to do anything on our southern border. They have not prioritized it for the last 15, 16 months. As a result, we're in the position we're in. As a result, also, we're addressing public safety issues, national security, health issues, to include humanitarian issues. This lies directly on the shoulders of this president.
Yeah, it's not only a border crisis, and I'm glad that you brought up humanitarian issues. It's a humanitarian crisis.
Humane, it's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Standing right behind this wall here, several days ago, we had a 32-year-old female that came over the wall, ended up getting stuck on the wall, and died on the wall. That's humanitarian.
Wow.
The frustration on our border by sheriffs is incredible down here. And thanks to our Attorney General, thanks to our governor, thanks to Governor Abbott, and the many other sheriffs and mayors out there trying to do something that this president's not doing. It's a shame.
I mean, the fact that you guys are standing at the border, but our own president and vice president hasn't visited the border. Are you guys holding your breath on that?
Yeah, it's so frustrating to me. I mean, Kamala Harris was a state AG at one time. She should understand the impact this failed policy is having, where, our kids are dying. People are dying in America as a result of the amount of fentanyl and methamphetamine coming into our country. And quite frankly, if Mayorkas isn't going to do his job, he needs to be impeached. So whether it's the Democrats or Republicans, the people in Congress need to start taking this issue seriously, because people in America are dying as a result of these failed policies.
Former President Trump, obviously, you heard, called for Mayorkas to either step down or get impeached. So he agrees with you there. You just mentioned fentanyl. The overdose deaths soared in 2021, especially in teenagers. In fact, the number of teens who died from fentanyl overdose has more than doubled since 2019. And there's a UCLA study that found that 253 teenagers actually died from fentanyl overdose in 2019, which accounts for 51% of all overdose deaths. Last year, fatalities surged to 884, with fentanyl causing 77% of all overdose deaths in teens. I mean, what is the Biden administration going to say to those families and those parents of those teenagers whose children are dead because we are ignoring what is the biggest crisis in this country and spending so much time worrying about other countries and not about our own? The vice president was at the border last June. The president has yet to visit. When he was asked, when Jen Psaki was asked if the president would visit, there was no answer. So it seems like there's no solution either.
Julie, I'll say the same thing that President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Secretary Marcus, they will say nothing to these families that have lost their loved ones as a result of this border that's not secure right now. Same thing they've done to sheriffs, mayors, governors, and attorney generals. This president needs to engage because at the beginning of the day, it starts in communities. At the end of the day, it ends in communities. They serve the same people I do. It's a crying shame what's going on in this country.
Yeah, this shouldn't be an issue of left versus right. This is a fundamental issue of right versus wrong.
Yeah.
The Biden administration is doing the wrong thing. Let's do the right thing to save America.
It should not be about left versus right. This is not a political issue. This is a national crisis. Cochise County Sheriff Mark Dannels, thank you very much. And the state's Attorney General, Mark Brnovich, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us today about this really important issue. Thank you, and have a great weekend.